在你那边。又来了。地船快是吧？
Okay, good afternoon there. We're going to proceed inward bound very soon. We'll turn the boat and take you up to Westminster. On leaving the piers, a short safety announcement is required. Legal requirements here on the Thames in its vessel. Marked with the international symbol, and in the very unlikely event of there being an accident, just remain calm, remain in your seats and await instructions. Okay. Instructions will be given to you by a crew member. There really is no reason to worry, folks. As I said, it is very unlikely for us to have another accident this afternoon, so just sit back and relax, you'll be fine. It's woken you up a minute there, didn't it? Not very busy in the top deck. People, if you would like to come upstairs, people sitting downstairs, I did see it was quite busy downstairs. The stairs are towards the back of the boat, left and right, and there are plenty of seats left on the top deck. Okay, of course you can. So before we turn the boat, very quickly, I'll start to the left-hand side, and as the tide is still low enough, you can see the famous entrance into the famous fortress, the Tower of London. You can see the writing on the river wall, entry to the Traitor's Gate, and the bricked up archway. The once opened arch where you would have been taken years ago if you were found guilty of treason. The oldest parts of the tower, the large section in the middle, the four turreted section flying the Union flag, and this is the White Tower, and it was built in the reign of William the Conqueror. It has been many things in its time. It's been a palace, an observatory, a royal mint, an armoury, even a zoo at one point. They used to keep animals inside the tower, but it is more commonly known around the world as a place of torture, imprisonment and execution. As we do start to turn the boat though, folks, ahead of us gives you a nice side-on view. Coming up, a very nice photo opportunity of one of the world's most famous bridges. Tower Bridge is ahead of us, okay? Not to be confused for London Bridge. Many people get them confused. This one isn't London Bridge, folks. As I said, it is Tower Bridge. Quite easy to remember because this one has two large towers. Now, in between the two towers, we can see the roadways. Okay, what the bridge is famous for. It can pass in and out of this part of the river. Raised successfully on many occasions, one of the only name of the boat. Okay, so you could time your visit, come back and see the bridge being opened. I'd recommend, if you can get back here of an evening, folks, around 8 or 9 o'clock. When the light starts to fade here in London, they light the bridge up, and it's probably the best time to see the bridge being opened of an evening time. Of course, it does still raise. As I mentioned, it lets cruise ships and warships in and out of this part of the river. We're now travelling through the upper pool of London, which extends from here up to London Bridge. And they come through into the upper pool and they tie up alongside the warship that we can now see over to the left. The HMS Belfast. She was actually built in Belfast in 1938, and she was built in the same shipyard as the ill-fated Titanic. That's the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, as I mentioned. She is open to the public. You can see, not very busy today, there is a few people walking around. She has 9 decks to explore, and it is a good day out for the children. Children under 16 can go on board completely free of charge. Okay, so good day out for the kids, and they say to allow between 2 and 3 hours to have a real good look. Ladders to climb along the way, from the engine rooms taking you all the way up to the captain's bridge up at the top. Walsegard House, home to Her Majesty's Customs, and here on the River Thames, that's what they say. To the right, we're also just passing the former Billingsgate Fish Market, the yellow brick building, and there has been a world famous fish market on that site for over 500 years. Unfortunately, it's now moved. It's actually moved to larger premises, a lot further downriver on the Isle of Dogs, on the Canary Wharf development. Ahead of us we have London Bridge, in fact off to the left, Western Europe's tallest building, and it stands over 1,000 feet tall. Completely finished, as you see it there. It looks a bit unfinished towards the top. It was actually designed to look like a broken shard of glass. Okay, so completely finished, as you see. London Bridge ahead of us, and this is the 5th London Bridge. But the one previous to this, the 4th one, it was sinking into the Thames mud. So we took it down, stone by stone, carefully numbered it and shipped it out to America. A few of you have seen it to the left, I'll point it out. In between the gap in the buildings, for the children on the boat then, look, there's a pirate ship off to the left, in the wet dock. And it's an exact working replica of Sir Francis Drake's Golden Hind. The first Englishman who sailed around the world, he used a vessel, a pirate. And as it's the holidays, the kids can go on board that pirate ship. They can dress up as pirates for the day, run around the pirate ship, have a lovely day. And the adult 25-ton containers, and inside there we have London's household rubbish. There's normally a barge tied up outside, and they're loading these containers into the barge, and then on high tide, around 6:30, a powerful London tug would come along and pick up the barges and tow them down river. About 90% of our rubbish, London's household rubbish, is taken via the river down to Belvedere. Just theatre. Ahead of us we have a bridge, and St Paul's stands at 365 feet tall, and it took 35 years to construct. If you look to the top of the dome, you can see some people walking around. There's a viewing platform on the top of the dome at St Paul's, and the views are said to be just as good as the views from the London Eye. Being only one problem, there's no lift or elevator to reach the top. You have to climb over 500 stairs to reach the top. Riverbed beneath us, all to do with the new Thames tunnel that's going to get introduced very soon. These group of bridges are the Blackfriars bridges. This one is a railway bridge, and if you look left and right, you can see they've made it wider and they've made it stronger. And if you look up now, you can see it's actually got a roof, and the roof is of the Blackfriars rail station. The first station to ever span the Thames. Cost them over £500 million to place that there. Took them over 4.5 years to develop. And this is the Blackfriars Road Bridge, opened in 1869 by Queen Victoria. As we look at a metre per hour, okay, of course the view, if you're coming out on the river, approaching high water. High water this afternoon, it will be around 6:30, and the tide today will reach around 6.5 metres, about 6.4 metres the tide is expected to reach. If you come back here at 6:30, that's where the water will be. We can see the green moss line, and it runs all the way along the embankment wall. The Victoria embankment to the... Once it reaches its high water mark, the tide then turns, it leaves London, and it floods out, it ebbs out to the North Sea, which is about 45 miles behind the boats. We can also see these green lions' heads, and they run all the way along the embankment wall, and they were placed there as a flood indication device. Before we had the Thames flood barrier, the local police, they were told to keep an eye on these green lions' heads, and if the tide was to ever reach the level of the lions' mouths, they were to issue a flood warning. They were to evacuate the local underground and the surrounding buildings. And to do this, they used to use that blue telephone box, the old one you can see back off to the right, just next to the lamppost, next to the ice cream van. The local police actually had a rhyme to remember this. You might have heard it. It goes, "When the lions are drinking, London is sinking." That's right. I love Zealand naval sloop, and she's permanently stationed here at Livery Hall, which is, it's like a drinking club and offices for the Honourable Company of Master Mariners. And to be a member of that company, you must have served at least 25 years as the captain of a sea-going vessel. Prince Charles and his father, they're both patrons of that company. Prince Philip, he was actually captain at sea for a very, very long time. The large observation wall, the London Eye, also the clock tower. To the right is once where we held all of our records of births, deaths and the men were away fighting during the Second World War, so it was left down to the girls and the ladies back home to do all of the construction. The only one that was complete on time and under budget as well, so well done the house, very well done. Over here to the right, we're also passing the river to the world famous Savoy Hotel, the white building with the green tiled roof. Staying to the right, and we can see the oldest thing on our journey today. The stone obelisk is Cleopatra's Needle, and Cleopatra's Needle is said to be them in pairs, and there is a sister needle, and it's slightly smaller. It stands in Central Park, New York City. Ahead of us we have the Hungerford group of bridges, but individually the Charing Cross railway line. It feeds the station off to the Horse Guards Hotel over there on the right. Actually a lovely vessel here to the right, the Tattershall Castle. A lovely place to go for a drink if you're going to stay in this area later on. It was once a paddle steamer and it's now a pub on the banks of the Thames. But over to the left-hand side, most people go to the left, and it's the London Eye, the large observation wall, and it stands at 450 feet tall, consisting of 32 glass pods. Not a random number, each pod actually represents a borough here in about 30 minutes, completing one full circle. The lines have been introduced on the London Eye. Birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, all sorts go on, all sorts take place on the Eye. You can actually hire that pod out in the 4 o'clock position, the orange pod, and have your wedding take place on the London Eye. The London Dungeon is actually recently moved here from the London Bridge area. A few people have been looking for it. It's inside that building to the left. You can see the entrance. Ahead of us we have Westminster Bridge, to the right Westminster Pier. One last point of interest before the tower. Big Ben chimes on the hour only, so of course you can't see it, you can only hear it. Over 1,000 rooms inside the Parliament building. 31 of those rooms are bars, okay? Bars for the politicians. The alcohol inside of which they pay no tax. For 1 pint of lager inside these bars, they pay £1.50 for 1 pint of lager. Now, I know our politicians don't allow themselves many privileges here in London, but that is one thing they do allow themselves. Well, that and their 3-month summer vacation as well. That is Westminster Pier to the left, folks. As I said, we are going to go into the pier now. A quick word about safety. As I said, we are turning the boat to give you a quick, nice photo opportunity off to the left. You can also see Westminster Abbey between the buildings. But please, once you've finished taking your pictures, it is best if you return to your seats, okay? And then return safely to your seats. We'll be over there in about 15 minutes time. If you're in a hurry, it is quicker to walk across Westminster Bridge. As I said, we'll stop here for a short break. We then cross the river. About the little commentary. As I said before, we're not guides on these boats, we are the crew. Okay, the Thames watermen employed to take this boat and yourself safely from A to B. The company we work for, they don't place guides on their boats, okay, and the reason is because they feel it's a bit unfair to charge everybody for the service. As you can imagine, there are some people on the boat that haven't understood a single word. That were interesting along the way. If I've succeeded in doing so and you'd like to show any voluntary appreciation, just have a safe on the ground journey. Thank you. Okay, use both sets of stairs at the back of the boat to get downstairs, and do mind a step as you go ashore.